This your boy didn't know about back with another video. Say, man, I'm not in great health. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Pray for your boy, man. Injured myself working out. The other day I was sick. It's been so much going on. But Jaylen Brown, I guess he been on his Twitch stream tripping. I do not follow NBA dudes that stream just because it's kind of like, yeah. But Jaylen Brown has been making some comments, and the media is in an uproar. And I think Jaylen Brown deserves his own team. I do honestly think Jaylen Brown is sick of the Celtics. They done went out back to back years in the playoffs without reaching the finals. So I just think the ship may have just is run its course. It just run its course. Jason Tatum, he kind of rushed back, ended up not even playing in game 7. Derek White was terrible. Peyton Pritchard was terrible. Jaylen Brown, his numbers overall dropped in the playoffs. Like he went from like 28 points to like 26. The efficiency still was good, but it dropped slightly. So him and Tatum really didn't have a bad series, especially the first 3 games or so. And B got back through a monkey wrench into things, even though he wasn't just overall dominant. He still was like at 28 a game for the 4 games he did play. So 1 through 4, you could say that I don't know, just Maxey was the best player in the series. And then it was Embiid for his 4 games, then Tatum, then Brown and Tatum. But then it was the stepping up moments of VJ Edgecombe, Paul George overall had a great series. And I just think Derek White and Peyton Pritchard just didn't step up to the plate. It's been a lot of talk about Joe Mazzulla and how he didn't like lean on his bench as much as he was in the regular season. So I could see some of those things. Like Baylor Shireman, I expected him to be way better than what he was. What did Baylor Shireman even do? Let me see real quick. Yeah, 42 from the field, 38 from three, but he only played 14 minutes. So how much can you ask for? Vucevic was terrible. Um, I don't know. Just the others for Boston kind of let them down. And then Maxi and Embiid had a pretty great series. Embiid with the volume, Maxi with the efficiency. Maxi had the most points in the whole series. So, and like I said, VJ Edgecombe exploded in game 2. What did he have? What did VJ have game 2? I can't remember, but um, yeah, yeah, game 2. Uh, game 2 was the pivotal turning point. It was the pivotal turning point, especially coming off game 1 when the Boston just ran them dudes out the building. They just ran them out the building. It was like 123-91, ran them out the building. With the VJ Maxi game of game 2, that kind of gave Philly some hope. And then when Joel Embiid came back, everything started trending towards the 76ers. But the others was just bad for Boston. I think this just is, like I said, it's run its course. It's time for Jaylen Brown to get his own team. I think him going back to Atlanta would be perfect because Jalen Johnson, in my opinion, he's even though I think he is a star, I don't think he's an offensive superstar. I think he's a fill in the gap superstar, kind of like what Scotty Barnes does, like where it's like he's so good at the game of basketball, but scoring, you might need another guy that you bring in scoring, kind of like when you brought in Ingram to score next to Brandon Ingram to score next to Scotty Barnes. I think you will bring Jaylen Brown in, score next to Jalen Johnson, and that makes sense. I do think you would have to give us CJ McCollum, Alexander Walker, that New Orleans pick, and Reese Shea. But I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Love now, but you gotta do what you gotta do. CJ's getting a little older. Reese Shea, you really don't seem like you have time for that, especially you done added Kaminga. So and you still have Dyson Daniels in the backcourt. So yeah, I like I like Jaylen Brown to Atlanta, and then I like all the assets that you will be able to get if you were Boston, because you can just plug in Nikhil Alexander Walker next to Derek White, and you think Nikhil Alexander Walker could have some secondary scoring juice and playmaking next to Tatum. You would hope that Missoula could fix Reese Shea, especially because Reese Shea is like looked at as like a movement shooter, a spot up shooter, catch and shoot player, good in transition. I think he fits Joe Mazzulla's style, and Joe Mazzulla could potentially unlock Ricochet. Then you get that potential top 10 pick from New Orleans. So I kind of like where I'm going here. And sorry, I'm just having kind of like a stream of consciousness because I think Jalen Brown deserves his own team. I heard Michael Wilbon on Get Up talk about how he thinks that Jalen Brown's attitude is kind of like Scottie Pippen, where it's kind of feeling like it's an underappreciation type vibe. And my only problem with that is, say, man, Tatum ain't no damn Michael Jordan, bro. Tatum ain't no Michael Jordan. I think Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum are on the same tier, and they keep showing us this time and time again. There's no real difference between Tatum and Brown in terms of being a number one guy. I think they're both capable of being the number one guy, especially if you build the teams the right way. And I think both of them will still have good enough teams that if they can be the guy, they can get these teams over to 'em. Look at what SGA is doing. He don't have a super team. Like Luca doesn't have a super team. So Wimby doesn't have a super team. So I think both of these guys getting their own team, it'll really show us who's who and what's what. And Jalen Brown's like 28 years old. He deserves this opportunity. If he felt like this was his favorite season, I can see why. I can see why. Dude is a finals MVP, a conference finals MVP. He should finish top five in MVP voting this season, should be first team all NBA. Let him have his own team, bro. Like he can be frustrated being a co-star to a guy that he's on the same tier with. That just makes sense from a basketball perspective. If he wants to be the guy, let him go be the guy. Especially in the way the NBA is set up now, you just need one guy and then a great supporting cast. And I think if the Celtics move off Brown, they still can have a great supporting cast that compete for the East around Tatum. And I feel the same way about Atlanta with Jalen Johnson and Jalen Brown. So I think that's a win-win type situation, especially depending on who you get with the New Orleans pick. So I don't know. I think Jalen Brown deserves his own team. He's kind of hinting at he's getting frustrated. They won a championship. Everybody's not meant to stay together forever, man. Everybody's not meant to stay together forever. If Luka can get traded, I've been saying this too. If Luka can get traded, anybody can go, bro. I've been seeing people say Franz Wagner can't go for Orlando. I think he can. People been saying Sengun can't go for the Rockets. I think he can. Like Jalen, like these guys, they can go. They can go. Yeah, yeah, man. I think Boston. I think Boston can move off Jalen Brown, bro. I think they can move off of him. I think Jalen Brown deserves his opportunity to have his own team, be the number one guy. I think him going home to Atlanta with Jalen Johnson, I think they fit each other perfectly. And it will be exciting to watch because Jalen Johnson he didn't have the greatest postseason either. Like, let's just keep it up. Let me make sure. Let me look at what Jalen Johnson did in the postseason. Um, because Jalen Johnson was 23, 10, and 8 in the regular season. 49 from the field, 35 from three, 79 from the free throw line. What he do in the playoffs? In the playoffs, he was 28 in the five, 44 from the field, 29 from three. He dropped. Jalen Johnson, he dropped. It is what it is. It is what it is. And for y'all who don't think they should get off Nikhil Alexander Walker, Nikhil Alexander Walker was 21, 4 and 3 in the regular season, 46 from the field, 40 from three, 90 from the free throw line. Huh. Damn. That was a great season. Um, he did win MIP too. But in the playoffs, he was 14, 3 and 2, shot 38 from the field, 42 from three. So Atlanta shouldn't be looking as if anybody is immovable. And if you was Atlanta, you also got Kaminga. So I think a five because they still got Corey Kispert over there. Okay, this would be my five in Atlanta with Jalen Brown. You would have Dyson Daniels at the one. I get it. Dyson Daniels, he can't shoot, he won't shoot. But I think him in that guard situation with Jaylen Brown, I still think is very workable, especially if you add a guy like Kispert to the starting lineup. So you would have Dyson Daniels, Jaylen Brown, Corey Kispert, Jalen Johnson at the four, and then you would have Okongwu at the five. Kaminga coming off the bench as a super six man. I like that. Um, and you still got Muhammad Gay. I guess it's Gay. I'll say Guy. I'm not sure. You still got Buddy Hield over there. You will still have to build this team going forward, and not having that pick would hurt. Not having Nickeil Alexander-Walker would hurt. CJ McCollum, it would hurt a little bit. But bringing in a guy like Jaylen Brown, I think it'll be worth it for Atlanta. And like I said, I think it'll be worth it for Boston too, to bring in a CJ McCollum who can clearly still score, especially if it's nights that Nikhil don't have it, Derek White don't have it, Pritchard don't have it. CJ could be a common presence. You could probably look to replace whatever you need to replace with that New Orleans Pelicans pick. Zachary Ricochet, I think he's the what they call it. He's the X factor in this deal because I would really love to see what Ricochet does in that Celtic system where it's just shoot threes. I think Missoula could unlock Ricochet. I said it once, I say it again. I think he can unlock Ricochet. I still think you got Hugo Gonzalez over there. You got Jordan Walsh over there. Zachary Ricochet projects as a different type of wing than those guys. So I don't know. I think you get enough guard production back in CJ and all to replace Jaylen Brown. You get like defense transition shooting stuff with Ricochet. Um, I like it. You get that New Orleans Pelicans pick. I like it for Boston. If you do get off Jaylen Brown, it's for that. Not no damn Giannis. I was hearing people say, uh, I think people was talking about Giannis for Jaylen Brown, bro. You know, no. Yeah, I guess you could, but me personally, I wouldn't do that, bro. We ain't seen Giannis healthy in the playoff. Man, we just ain't seen Giannis healthy, bro. Giannis is like 31. Man, I'd rather turn JB into Nickeil Alexander Walker, Ricochet, a top 10 pick in vet guard CJ McCollum, bro. That's just me. And I just think it's time, bro. You don't have to force these guys to stay together, bro. Jaylen Brown clearly wants to go. Let his ass go. I don't think it'll be the worst thing in the world for Boston. Y'all just went on the first round. I just went on the first round. And I can see why Jaylen Brown would be frustrated with them shoehorning Tatum back in. Y'all could just let it play out. I feel like that's kind of a slap in the face to not just let it play out and Tatum to miss game 7 anyway. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think it's okay. Boston clearly loves Tatum more than Brown, so just let Brown go. Let him go home. Let him get his shot as being the guy on his own team, on his hometown team at that. He's still like 28, 29 years old. So it's still a few years there. So I don't know. That's just me. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. Should Jaylen Brown be traded? If the Celtics trade Jaylen Brown, what's the best place for him to go? What's the best? Like, what could I don't know. I don't know. Y'all just let me know how y'all feel about a Jaylen Brown trade. And I don't think it's because they can't coexist. I think it's because they don't want to coexist no more. Jaylen Brown specifically, because he did come out and say it was his favorite season playing without Tatum. That's not nothing. And he said it. There's nobody but Brown. That's what he said. So it is what it is. They got their championship. They done had they run together. Let Jaylen Brown have his own team. And yeah, Mike Wilbon comparing that shit to Scotty, it was crazy because Tatum ain't no damn Michael Jordan. Jaylen Brown and Tatum on the same tier. So this is what you know about. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. I'm gone.
Found some shit I love to do, so I can live comfortable. Searching for a peace of mind, need that when it's time to rhyme. Perfect in every line, any chance I get, and I know it takes time, but I will never quit.